Welcome back to Logan Talk Sports. I'm Logan, and there is some huge news in the NBA right now, and that is that LeBron is now on the 76ers. And I think a lot of people thought this was going to happen um, at the start of this situation with LeBron, where he was deciding to leave. Um, when he was deciding to leave the Lakers, but it definitely played out a long time. Like it took a while for this to happen. A lot of people thought he might go back to the Heat. Obviously, all that Heat YouTube stuff happened where they had scheduled like a press conference video or something like that. I'm really not sure how that happened. That's a little weird. Uh, but yeah, I'm not too shocked by this. The 76ers obviously already had a great team. It's a big city and it's close to a lot of big cities. Obviously, people have talked about being able to just get to New York pretty fast if LeBron wanted to. And then, yeah, I feel like LeBron wants to win a championship. That's even what he said in his tweet talking about this. So, not too surprised by it at all. I think the biggest story of it is really the pay cut he took to be able to play on this team. 2 years, $8 million with a player option. Um, that seems very team friendly to me, especially whenever LeBron's being put on this starting five with Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Jalen Brown, and Joel Embiid. Just an insane lineup. So it's going to be crazy to see what the Sixers can do this year. I'm not sure if they'll win the finals. I think there's still teams that probably I'd give the edge to just because um, there definitely problems can definitely happen with a team with LeBron and Embiid just injury wise, with LeBron being so old and just Embiid obviously just having a ton of injuries. But yeah, I think the 76ers are going to be really good this year. I just don't know if they'll have that final push that they might need whenever you have an older player like LeBron. But we'll definitely see once the NBA season rolls around. Not super long, but still a couple months away. Now, this is a game that a lot of people have been playing, and so I wanted to try it. It is 82-0, the NBA game. Starting from the Raptors, you could definitely go with Kawhi Leonard, probably realistically their best player ever. He brought them their championship, and I think I am going to go with him over someone like Vince Carter just because that 2019 Kawhi run. And I guess now he's back on the Raptors. So Kawhi Leonard 2019, though, is an insane run. Now from the Hornets, not a ton of just historically amazing greats. And I do think they are worthy of using a skip on, but I don't really want to this early, and I think I am going to go with like a Kimball Walker and hope it gives me a good year of him. It didn't. Um, Now moving on to the Wizards, I'm kind of glad I saved my skip. But you can definitely get a great player, and I'm going to do that with taking Gilbert Arenas. For the Pelicans, who else am I going to choose other than Anthony Davis? Probably one of their best players ever. Now for the Suns. Suns is definitely a bit of a um, low team to get whenever you're trying to find a center, but you also have a six-man spot, and so you can go with a player like Steve Nash in that one. Now for the Lakers, you kind of get your best pick, and that's where I'm going Shaq. Going 63 and 19. Yeah, you're going to have a great season doing that. I'm going to do this two more times, though. I want to see what the best record I can get. Starting with the Lakers again. This one's tough. You can obviously pick really anything you want when you're doing the Lakers, but I'm going to go with Magic Johnson. I just feel like that leaves you a lot open to pick in a later spot. And I'm going to skip the Hornets this time just because it's a tough picking from them when you're not doing a point guard. But now since I picked Kawhi last time, I'm going to do Vince Carter for that spot. I wonder if it'll let me put Russell Westbrook here. If not, okay. I wonder if it'll let me put. No, okay. You never know with sometimes where it might let you put a point guard as a shooting guard or something like that. Let me see. Yep, and it will let me do Kevin Durant as a power forward. So I'm going to do that. For the Wizards now. Ooh. I feel like using a 6-man spot here would probably work. Taking someone like John Wall, hold Michael Jordan, but I think I'm gonna go with John Wall. What a lot of people think of when you think of the Wizards, honestly. Now for the Suns, not a ton of picks, but I feel like there's a pretty obvious one here in Devin Booker. So that's what I'm gonna go there. Now for the Pistons to end off at center, and I think Andre Drummond's not an awful pick, and you're already seeing improvement on my record, 71-11. But we only finished in the second round of the playoffs. Well, yikes. Yeah, I think we can still improve. Let's do this one more time, and just see what I get. Why do we keep getting the Wizards, man? I think this time I'm going to use my skip on the Wizards. Even though it's the very first pick, I feel like this is a lot easier than the NFL one where you only have to pick from 6 spots. Now going back to the Pelicans. I think you can go an early Chris Paul here. I think that's a fun pick to try and get a young guard in there. Now for the Grizzlies, not a ton of all-time players, but you have some really good like center choices. But I think it is kind of fun to do Zach Randolph here. So that's why I'm going to pick him. For the Pistons now, I'm going to go Brandon Knight. Celtics, I think it's kind of hard to go anyone else except Kevin Garnett. For the 76ers, I wonder if it lets me put LeBron. No, it does not. Obviously hasn't played for them yet. I just wanted to see if it would let me do it. But I think I'm going to go to Joel Embiid. It's a recent pick, but I think you can do that. And then for the Pacers, you got to go Paul George. And yikes, that's my worst record yet, but my best finish in the playoffs yet. So I'd say it evens out. But I want to do it just one more time to see. I didn't really love those picks. And I think this time when I get the Lakers, I'm going to go Kobe. Rockets. I haven't had this one yet. And you can get Hakeem Olajuwon. And that's a perfect year for him, too. A year they won the finals. Now for the Mavericks, kind of got to go Dirk Nowitzki. Maybe you could have gone Luka, but I think Dirk is pretty obviously their best player in franchise history, and when you can do that, you pick him. I don't know why I keep getting the Wizards. I'm skipping them here before even looking at anything. That leaves me with the Hornets. I'm going to go with LaMelo, honestly. I just think it's a fun pick to do that. Getting him with some of these just all-time greats with Kobe, Dirk, and Hakeem. I think that's a little funny to pick LaMelo in that situation. And then the Magic's a bit hard when you're picking small forward, but I'm not. I'm picking a 6-man, and so I'm going to go with Tracy McGrady there. And then the Heat, I think we all know what small forward played for the Heat. If this isn't my best record, yeah, Okay, there we go. 73-9. The only problem is we finished in the second round of the playoffs. How? Like, genuinely how? You have Kobe, Tracy, Hakeem, LeBron, Dirk, LaMelo, and you finish in the second round with the best record of all time. I'm redoing it one last time. This is my fifth time picking. Since I picked Dirk, I'm going to pick Luka this time. Now for the Thunder, I kind of wish I didn't pick Luka because you could have had Westbrook, you could have Shea, but I think you can have some fun here with a Thunder pick. I already picked Kevin Durant for the Thunder, so I'm not going to do that again. I think I am going to pick Paul George. He had some fun years there for a little bit for the Thunder. Every time I do this, it just takes away a great pick that I can do. But I am going to go on the six-man route here and pick Kawhi again. Now to the Timberwolves. I think Kevin Love's a good pick here. Obviously, number one overall pick for them. And then for the Celtics shooting guard, Celtics, you got a lot of old guys. And I think it's funny to pick Rajon Rondo, but I'm not going to. I'm going to just pick Ray Allen. Easy pick there. And then the Kings, you can definitely get a dude like DeMarcus Cousins had some great years for the Kings, but I have my skip left, and I want to just see what I can get out of it. And the Magic, you're going to give me Shaq, I guess you could pick, but I've already picked Shaq, I think, a couple of times, so I want to pick Dwight Howard here. And there we go. Even though that's not my best record, we finally won the NBA Finals, so I think that's a perfect place to end this. I've done 5 of these now. Didn't go 82-0, but I went 73-9, and now I've also won the finals on a different one, so I think that's the perfect way to end this NBA one. Can I go 17-0? Picking some NFL players. And I'm going to start off early with the NFL MVP, Matthew Stafford. Now going to the Broncos. I guess I'm going to pick. I feel like tight ends are a little hard for me to always get, and so that's why I'm going to go with Shannon Sharp there. Now drafting from the Falcons. I think there's a very obvious pick here, and that is Julio Jones. Now to the Eagles. There's definitely some good picks here, and I think I'm going to just take a Saquon Barkley from a couple years ago. A fair pick, one of the best rushing seasons of all time. So I'm going to go with Saquon there. Now, Washington they have a lot of history, but I feel like if I have a skip, I am going to use it here, especially when that opens up the Cowboys to give me someone like Michael Irvin. Now for the Bucks, I just picked Mike Evans, but I don't really know if there's anyone else that I'd want to pick other than him. So I'm going to pick him there. And then that ends us off with the Jags, where I'm going to go with Maurice Jones-Drew. And 12-5 with a wild card finish is definitely not what I wanted to start off with. So we're going to play it again. Starting with the Broncos, I think I want to start off with quarterback anytime I can. And there's not really a better quarterback pick here for the Broncos. You could go with John Elway, but I'm going Peyton Manning. Now for the Browns. Historically probably the worst team ever. So you're not just getting a ton of amazing picks when you get the Browns. But you still have some talent here, and that's why I'm going to go with Nick Chubb. Now going to the Seahawks. you have some great all-time players, and I'm kind of sad I used my running back spot already. But I mean, you can still get some amazing players at receiver. You can get a good tight end, but I think I am just gonna go back over and use my flex spot to get Marshawn Lynch, even though that's a little bit of a cheating pick in my opinion. Now for the Raiders, you can go with some of these older receivers who played with them, um, but I want to go with someone that I really like, even though he never had an insanely amazing NFL career, Michael Crabtree. Um, for the Colts now, this one can be fun. I'm going to go with the Texans killer, T.Y. Hilton. Hated that dude, honestly. Like, genuinely, he destroyed the Texans every time we played against them. So, but he was great at it. So, picking him there. Now for the Jaguars, I'm gonna use my skip there, and I think that's a great time to get that skip because that leaves you with a flex spot still open, and I think, the Cowboys is honestly one of the best teams to get when you have a flex position open because it's like just the best team historically ever. And I scrolled a lot, but I'm going to go right back up to Emmitt Smith. Kind of hard to pick anybody else other than him. And I'll take a Jimmy Graham from the Bears. And again, a wild card finish, 11-6. I definitely see that my receivers aren't the best picks, but I had some of the best running backs ever. Picking 3 running backs also is a problem. I don't know why I did that. I should have been paying a bit more attention to that. Still, though, 11-6, not my best. We'll start again, though. Titans, I think you kind of have to go. Well, I guess you could go CJ2K, but kind of forgot Derrick Henry was as much as a monster as he was for them. And then, when you have the Niners, you can't go anybody else, in my opinion, except for one of the best receivers of all time. Now for the Seahawks, I want to pick a quarterback here and go Russell Wilson. I think amazing QB for them. Never really had the O-line to do to bring them back to the greatness that he had at the start of his career for the Seahawks. But then Seahawks are back now, so I don't think they care too much. Now for the Jets, though, this one's a little hard to pick just because the Jets, they've been around a long time, but they don't have a ton of just historic success with a ton of players. So I'm going to use my skip on them. That brings me back to the Broncos. And I think that I'm going to go with Demaryius Thomas here. Great receiver. Now for the Chiefs, you could go Tony Gonzalez here, but you can also go with Travis Kelce at tight end. I think that's a very fair pick. Now for the Eagles, I'm going to go Terrell Owens. And then ending off with the Cowboys, you can get any player you want. But I've already picked Emmitt Smith. I've already picked Michael Irvin. So I'm going to go with Dez Bryant. Even though, well, I just said that I had picked 3 running backs last time. Now I only have 1 running back. I don't know if I need a 4th receiver when I also already have an amazing tight end. So I think I am going to go back over and do Herschel Walker. And this gives me a great finish here, 14-3 with a divisional round finish. And I think I can just get a little bit better. These playoff finishes are kind of annoying me. I want to at least get to the conference finals, man. Or conference championship. I'm thinking of basketball right now. For the Giants, I just want to do a fun pick here and do Odell Beckham Jr. Now moving on to the Vikings. I'm going to go with Brett Favre at quarterback. I like picking quarterback early to get it out of the way because a lot of teams have great quarterbacks. So that's why I picked him there. Now moving on to the Chargers. I think you can't really go anybody else other than LaDainian Tomlinson. You could take Antonio Gates at tight end just because tight end's kind of hard in my opinion to find great ones in this. But I mean, when you have the opportunity to pick LaDainian Tomlinson, you have to take it. Now to the Colts. I think you kind of got to go with Dwayne Allen here. I don't know. It's kind of hard with the Colts. Not a ton of just skill position play, in my opinion, all time. But I'm going to go with the Bills here, and we have Shady McCoy, Andre Reed, Stephon Diggs. I think I'm going to just go with LaShawn McCoy there. Now moving on to the Ravens. Not a ton of receivers to pick from, but I'm going to take Derrick Henry here at running back, and then that leaves receiver open to where I'm going to choose Dez Bryant finally. 12-5 divisional finish. I did 5 for the NBA. I'm going to do 5 for the NFL. Let's start here with the Broncos. Last time I picked Peyton Manning. This time I'm going to take John Elway. To the Bills, I am going to go with someone I probably should have taken last time, and that's Andre Reed. Now for the Seahawks, I'm going to go Steve Largent. A bit of an older team now is what I want to pick. I wonder how it's kind of changing the records based on like when the players played. For the Eagles now, I think you can go with someone who was just around for a long time with Zach Ertz. For the Patriots now, they had some decent running backs on those Tom Brady Super Bowl teams, but not anything too special because that was never the position they needed to be too special at. But I have a flex spot open, and I have Randy Moss that I can pick there. One of the only teams to go undefeated, even though they lost in the Super Bowl. He was on one of those teams to go undefeated. So I think that's kind of a perfect pick in this situation. Now to the Giants. This one, I think last time I picked Tiki Barber, so I'm going to pick Saquon now. Obviously, one of the best running backs in the NFL, or probably the best running back in the NFL. And then ending off with the Raiders. Definitely some great players here you can pick. This one's hard. I mean, I have 3 receivers already, so I probably don't need one. I probably would prefer a running back, and I think I found a great one here to go with Marcus Allen. And now I'm 15-2. Still divisional round exit, but I'm seeing improvement. 15-2 is an amazing season, and I think that's where I'm going to end it for this 17-0 game. We've finally made it to the AFC East, and I'm going to be starting with the Patriots right now. Week 1 rematch of the Super Bowl, and I think the Patriots will be ready to take this one off of the Seahawks early. It's in Seattle, but I don't think that'll matter too much for the Patriots in this game just because usually the team that won the Super Bowl starts off a little rough, but then also the Patriots will be wanting to get the win a little bit more than the Seahawks will, in my opinion. So that's why I'm picking them there. And then I already have some games picked here before. I have the Patriots winning over the Steelers and the Jags. And then now moving into week 4 against the Bills. This one's going to be pretty tough. I think For a lot of these hard divisional matchups where it's two just really great teams, I'll probably end up splitting them home and home. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give this one to the Bills in Buffalo. And then I'd pick the Patriots beating the Raiders. I think the Patriots will beat the Jets. I think away to the Bears will be a tough game for the Patriots. It's a way they might be able to lose a game. Even though I do think the Patriots are better than the Bears, but I think the Bears will end up getting that game. I think the Patriots will beat the Dolphins. Yeah, I mean the Dolphins. I've picked pretty roughly so far. Both the Dolphins and the Jets have been. We'll see when we get there, but those records are pretty bad. Um, I think the Patriots will beat the Packers in Week 9 at home. They're a better team than the Packers. I think they got them there. Similar situation to the Bears game. I have the Patriots losing to the Lions away. That's a bit of a tough matchup coming off of that Packers game and having to go to Detroit. Yeah, I think Detroit will be able to get them there, and then immediately going to LA is going to cause some problems, so that's why I have the Patriots losing to the Chargers in that game. And now I already said I was going to split the series between the Bills and Patriots, so I'm going to give the Patriots that game. I think the Patriots will beat the Vikings. And then, yeah, I think they'll probably. I mean, I could see them. I could see the Patriots maybe losing a game against the Jets or Dolphins just because it's a divisional matchup. It's hard. I don't know though. Before I get to those though, I had the Patriots beating the Vikings. I don't know why I'd already picked that. I hadn't. Not sure. Um, Patriots beating the Chiefs, and then week 17, I had the Patriots beating the Broncos. I think the Patriots will lose to the Jets in this game, going to New York right after having to play Kansas City and giving them a win. I just think that's going to take a lot out of them as they prepare for this matchup against the Broncos that I have them winning, and I think they'll lose to the Jets in that. But then I'm going to have them beating the Dolphins and finishing 12-5. I think that's a fine record for the Patriots. Probably not exactly what they would hope for. They'd want to try and keep getting better, but I don't think a 12-5 record's anything to be mad about if you're the Patriots this season. Now moving on to the Bills. I obviously had already picked two of these games just a second ago. But week 1, I have the Bills losing to the Texans. I just think the Texans kind of own Josh Allen, and it's in Houston, so Will Anderson's going to eat, in my opinion. But then I do think the Bills will get the win over the Lions. It's at home. They would have just been coming off a loss. This is a really tough stretch, though, to start the season for the Bills. You're just going 5 really great teams immediately to start the season. And so that's why I have them losing to the Chargers right after that before beating the Patriots in week 4. And then going to the Rams in week 5. That's going to be a huge matchup. And I do think a lot of these I'm going to just favor the home team because it's two insanely great teams. But I do think the Rams are a better team than the Bills this year. They will be. And so I think being at home is enough to justify me picking them over the Bills, to where if it was in Buffalo, I'd be questioning it a little bit more. But I have the Bills beating the Raiders. I have the Bills beating the Ravens. And then I think some of these away matchups, even though it's not amazing teams, I think the Vikings are good enough to beat the Bills, especially when they are at home. But then I think the Bills are going to beat the Jets and Dolphins and the Chiefs before taking a loss to the Patriots in New England. And then it's another tough stretch here. It's really kind of a weird way the Bills' schedule's set up, where they just have these 5 really hard matchups to start the season. Then there's still some tough matchups in here with the Ravens and like Chiefs, but it's a lot easier than this first stretch. But then you immediately go back over here where it's Chiefs, Patriots, Packers, Bears, Broncos. So definitely a weird schedule the way this was lined up for them. And so I do have them losing to the Packers there. But then I think the Bills will win every other game this season. They'll end the season on a 4-game winning streak, in my opinion, beating the Bears, Broncos, Dolphins, and Jets. And 11-6, similar to the Patriots, I don't think it's what the Bills necessarily want, because obviously the Bills would want to win this division, and as of right now, I don't have them doing that. So definitely a little disappointing for the Bills, I'd say, but it's not too crazy, in my opinion, to say that that's how it's going to end up for them. Now moving on to the Dolphins. I definitely feel that the Dolphins are going to have a really rough season. But I think everybody's expecting that whenever you were already a really bad team and then you just got rid of your quarterback, and I mean it's going to be a bad year for the Dolphins this year. So before I've even picked anything really right now, they're starting 1-9, and I don't know. I don't see very many wins in here for them at all, honestly. I think they'll lose to the Niners in week 2 after they lose to the Raiders. Then they'll lose to the Chiefs. I'm gonna just say they're gonna beat the Vikings, just because I just can't see them going like 2-15 or whatever. And so that's why I'm gonna give them the win over the Vikings in that game. Really, just because I really would want to give the Dolphins some type of win here, even though they have a really hard schedule for how bad of a team they are this year. And then close divisional matchup, like I was saying, I'll probably just split a lot of those between the Jets and Dolphins. So that's a win there, but also another loss. Then losing to the Patriots against the Lions, even though the Lions probably aren't going to be insane this year, they're just not. The Dolphins don't have a chance against them, to be honest. Then losing to the Colts. This game I could maybe see the Dolphins taking, but I just feel like the Colts are going to also not be a great team this year, and so they'll be fighting for their wins, and I think they're going to be fighting a little bit harder than the Dolphins are. So that's why I'm going to give the Colts that game. Losing to the Bills in Week 11, beating the Jets at home, then going to the Broncos and losing. Now the Bears, it is at home, but it's still the Bears. The Bears are a playoff team. They're going to beat the Dolphins in that game. Same with the Packers at Lambeau. The Dolphins aren't winning that game. Then I had a win over the Chargers. Not exactly. I guess I just needed to give the Dolphins a win just because, similar to why I gave them the win over the Vikings, it's just a really hard schedule for the Dolphins to find wins. And obviously there's chances. Like I gave the Raiders the win in week 1. That was kind of for the same reason. I was just trying to give the Raiders a win. So some of these bad teams, it's definitely going to play out differently than I think, but I don't know. It's going to be tough for the Dolphins. But then I had them losing the last 2 games of the season against the Bills and Patriots and ending 3-14. Pretty awful, but I think the Dolphins are going to be pretty awful this year. So now moving on to the Jets. Already picked some of these games. Yeah, I picked that one. I picked blah, 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 blah. Okay, there we go. Now we're all caught up with the Jets. 2-10 before I've even picked any other games. And a similar story to the Dolphins, where it's just, where do you give them wins? I just don't see them beating NFC North teams, especially when they're away back-to-back, going to Ford and Soldier Field. It's going to be really, really hard. But similar with how I had the Raiders beating the Dolphins, there's chances for the Jets to win games that I'm just not giving to them right now, like in this Browns game, and like in this Raiders game again. So it's partly me at the same time of deciding who's going to win games where. But I will pick the Jets to beat the Cardinals after losing uh, a lot of games in a row to the Raiders, Chiefs, Bills, Chargers, Dolphins, and Broncos. Um, Before I have them winning 2 games in a row now against the Cardinals and Patriots, making kind of a inspired late run. But then they're also I have them losing to the Vikings in Week 17, and then the Bills in Week 18 to also finish 3-14. Same as the Dolphins, but it's not surprising to me at all. Both of these teams are going to be pretty bad. And I feel like that's how a lot of divisions are going to be, where it's just two great teams and then two really, really bad teams this year. But yeah, I guess that's my AFC East predictions. So as of right now, the Patriots are my AFC East division winners. And I will be back next week, starting with the NFC.